Here to discuss the latest development with me, Chief White House correspondent and MSNBC anchor Hallie Jackson, former prosecutor Barbara McQuaid, former Vermont governor and DNC chair Howard Dean, Bruce Lavelle, executive director of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. But we begin with Carol Lee, one of NBC's reporters who broke the story. Carol, what have you learned?
Well, what we've learned, sources tell NBC News that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, has compiled enough evidence to bring charges in the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and his son. And what that means is they've found enough in their investigation to potentially bring charges. Now, we may not actually see the special counsel bring charges against Michael Flynn or his son, depending on whether either or both decides to cooperate with the special counsel or perhaps already is cooperating with the special counsel. The other thing that we've learned is that the focus of the investigation into Flynn and his son is really looking at some work that he did with the government of Turkey, that the Justice Department says benefited the government of Turkey. In particular, they're looking at the former National Security Advisor's conduct while he was in the White House and whether or not he tried to facilitate the return of this cleric that the government of Turkey considers a terrorist and considers was part of an effort to overthrow the government there in 2016. And so there's a number of different fronts in which the special counsel is looking into Michael Flynn and his son, and sources tell us that they have reached a point where they feel they have enough evidence in the investigation to potentially bring charges.
And Carol, putting you on the spot here with all the great reporting you've already done, do we have any sense of the nature of the charges?
No, and we don't know that there eventually will be. What we do know about Michael Flynn is that he has similar vulnerabilities, legal vulnerabilities, as the former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, who was indicted, as we know, last week. He has done lobbying work, Michael Flynn, with the foreign governments where he did not, according to the Justice Department's view, properly file and register as a foreign agent. We know that they've been looking into some of his business ties, with other foreign governments, and whether he properly filled out paperwork, either while he was, before he was in order to serve in the White House or while he was in another position within the U.S. government. And so there are a number of different aspects that they're looking at in terms of Michael Flynn. The other thing I would mention is that they've also, Michael Flynn has been interviewed by the FBI, and there is potential for that he was not truthful with the FBI, and that is, as we know, has been one of the charges that the special counsel has levied at other people that he's been investigating.
Should we be surprised that Michael Flynn's son is also involved?
Look, no, because, while it might not seem obvious to a casual observer, Michael Flynn's son has been essentially his right-hand man. These two work very closely together. They were, the younger Michael Flynn was very deeply involved in his father's business. He often took meetings for him. He traveled with him. For instance, when the elder Michael Flynn went to Russia to give a speech at the Russian state news organization, RT, and sat at the same table as Vladimir Putin, Michael Flynn's son was also on that trip. We also know that he spent a lot of time with him during the campaign, and that Michael Flynn, the younger Michael Flynn, was part of had done some work on the transition, although there was some dispute about to what extent he had worked on the Trump transition. So these two have very much worked in tandem, and it's not surprising that he would then also be looked at by a special counsel that's investigating former National Security Advisor.
All right, NBC's Carol Lee, great work. Stick around if you will. Let's go now.